Hey, everybody, you with Anthony Brogdon, and man, I tell you, I just had a technical difficulty. I didn't have my light on. Whoa, I'm getting better with this channel. People like what I'm doing. My numbers is up in subscribers and people liking, and they posting comments. And then I get these heavyweight people like the guy that's on the channel right now. Somebody referred me to him, said, you need to talk to this gentleman. I said, okay. And then he hit me a message and he said, hey, I'm interested in coming on because I got a story to tell. I said, okay. And it's happening here at Strong Inspirations. If you don't know, let me tell you, we done gone international. There's a lady on the channel from Australia, a lady on the channel from Nova Scotia, Canada, a lady on the channel from Ireland, a guy on the channel from South Africa, from London. There's 3 or 4 of them London people. Man, I'm hitting them all, and I'm starting to find me some more people from out of Africa telling this story, and all throughout the US. I found a guy on the channel out of Boise, Idaho. He said, don't sleep on Boise. He said, if you're tired where you are, you might want to come here. The weather's good and everything is fair. I said, oh man, I got to come to Boise and check it out. This is what we're doing. I tell you, you know what I do? I give it to you straight, no chaser. I just come up with a few questions. Watch me ask this guy some questions. And then let them do the talking. And the reason why I even say all that is because I've been interviewed a few times, and it seemed like the guy who was interviewing me did more talking than I did. He asked a 20-minute long question, and I'm sitting there saying, well, where I fit. I don't do that on this channel because they know this stuff. I'm learning as we go along, just like you, my viewers. I got big things happening. I'm having my own festival in Quindaro, Kansas. It's my festival along with the 2 Black History museums in that town. Quindaro, Kansas. It's May 27th through the 29th, 2022. And yesterday, I came up with another festival. They already gonna put it together, but I'm gonna try to get at least 500 of you all, you beautiful people, to join me in Elaine, Arkansas. If you don't know that story, I posted the video. That's how I found out about it. They had a massacre in Elaine. They killed about 300-400 of them brothers and sisters down there, and the guys was just standing in the field. Got to make that story national news. It's huge. It's devastating to that community, to them people, to them families. You out there working as a sharecropper, and they come and shoot you. And I'm talking about they being the government. They called the governor, and the governor sent them down there and didn't ask no questions, just shot first. Something like Tulsa, just didn't burn down the building. So it's not that remnant. They were in a church and they burned down, they shot through the church, killed about 20 people in the church at the church meeting. And then the next day they burned the church down so there'd be no evidence. All right. So I got this festival coming up this Saturday, and I know this video is going to, go after that, October 2nd, 2021. And on the first Saturday of every month, little old me came up with an ideal, and I call it Black Men in the Suit Day. We did it last year, 2020. Had about 500 guys across the country take pictures of them wearing a suit. You ain't got to do anything but put the suit on and look good to yourself. And it's a show of solidarity. I want all these people to wear suits. It's coming up this Saturday, and it's October 2nd. Check that out. And the hashtag is Black Men in the Suit 2021. That's huge. I be in the middle of the night, I come up with these ideas. And I'm shooting a movie Watch me now. Now, this has been 20 years in the making. I had a dream of a teenage kid growing up without his father. Not my life, because my mom and dad were together till her passing. God rest her soul. But it was a dream of mine. And this young kid is not a bad kid, but he fight because he got a temper. He gets put out of school. They got to put him in this youth home, and there they assign him a mentor. And this man comes into his life, and both of their lives are changed. It's called Foot Soldiers. I'm shooting that. I'm not going to direct it per se. I can't sit on the sideline completely and don't say nothing. But I wrote the script, and I'm producing it. It's going to be huge. I'm going to be a big filmmaker, too. That's the other thing, along with this show. And to let you know how I do this film, check it out. Boom, shakalaka. I got 2 films out now, one called The Great Detroit and the other one called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. They're both documentaries. I wrote the script, I hired the crew, I produced this, and I showed it in 40 cities across of America on my own dime. I had a little money back then. And I was showing it in churches and art centers and everything all across America. People like this. The movie starts and ends with a guy that's 101 years old at the time. And let me tell you, my man in the end of the movie said, y'all can't tell me nothing. I've been around a long time. It's in the movie. You need to watch this. It's streaming on Amazon. Get that. And I'm about to put it up on Tubi because it's a hit. And then I wrote the book, Black Business Book. It's got over 200 facts. I'm telling you, this stuff in here, I know you don't know. And if you know it all, I give you money back. A book with a money back guarantee. That's how I feel that confident that you don't know all the ways slaves learn how to read and write. You don't know all these names that I list in here of early graduates, all the names that I list in here of slaves who own businesses. And yes, that's true. They did. And some of them did very well. I got one guy here, he did so well, he didn't want to buy his freedom because he had to move his shop. Can you imagine that? Because you got 1 year after you get your freedom, you got to get out of town. My man said, hey, you know, boss man ain't hurting me too bad. I can stand this. I'm getting paid. I'm storing money away. Send the movie. And in the book, get you a copy of this. 200 facts. And go to my website, businessintheblack.net. That's where, just order the book there. I'll autograph it. Every 10th book I sell, I donate one to a school. My man is sitting there waiting. He's smiling. I'm going to tell him, give me one more second because I got to introduce you in this fashion. The best word that I like a lot is strong. Strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And now that is my introduction to my guest. Come on, you strong man. Introduce yourself. Let's get it on.
How's it going? Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm William Isom. I'm here. We're talking from Whitesburg, Tennessee, which is rural East Tennessee. Yeah, I'm the director of the Black and Appalachian Project. We work to highlight and document Black history in the Appalachian region, Southern Appalachian region, a little bit of Southeastern Ohio. Yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you a couple questions of you. Is that where you from? Is that where you were born?
I'm born and raised close by here. My great-great-grandparents, when they got out of slavery, were in this area where I'm at right now. A couple of my great-great-grandparents were enslaved about 5 miles up the road, and I'm going to be buried 5 miles the other way up the road. So
really,
I ain't going anywhere. We here.
And so, where are you though? What town? What state? What town? That kind of thing. Where is this?
It's Whitesburg, Tennessee. It's east of Morristown, Tennessee, East Tennessee. We're about an hour east of Knoxville. We're an hour from the Virginia line, an hour from the Kentucky line, an hour from North Carolina. So that's where we're at, up here in the corner of East Tennessee in the mountains.
Now, is there so where's the mountains to where you live? Are you like at the base of a mountain, up near a mountain, or what?
Where we're at is technically called, I refer to it as the industrialized valley. It's where the Tennessee Valley Authority came in and built reservoirs back in the 30s. And so we've got Cherokee Lake to the north, Douglas Lake to the south, and then just south of Douglas Lake is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Sevierville, Dollywood, Gatlinburg, all that stuff's just to the south of us. To the north of us and to the north of Cherokee Lake is Clinch Mountain and the Cumberland Mountains.
Okay.
Kentucky, Middlesboro, Kentucky, Cumberland Mountain National Historic Park. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of situated in the valley in between rivers and mountains.
So it's beautiful country where you are. You can take some people to some spots up the mountain and you got a whole view of everything and that kind of thing, right?
I've been all over the world and there's no place as beautiful as this place. It's picturesque, lots of rolling hills, lots of woods, mountains, water. We got lots of water, which is a blessing. Yeah, lots of old architecture, but we also still have like Dollar General stores.
You all have a little down. Now, I shouldn't swear to use it. You all have a downtown in your city, and there's a few businesses, a main street, that kind of thing.
In Whitesburg, Tennessee, there's Whitesburg Market. There is a Dollar General store and a post office. And there's one other little market here, and then there's our office, and that's about it. There's not even a red light in Whitesburg, Tennessee.
Really?
So yeah, we got to drive about 20 minutes. We got to drive about 20 minutes to get to.
So where your house
town.
is, you don't have neighbors for a little distance away from you?
There's houses out here. So people do live out here and farm out here. So there's, people raise cattle, grow and cut hay, and there's houses around, and so and there's lots of traffic out here, so people are getting somewhere when they come through here, and so yeah, there are quite a few. I think the community probably has 2,500 people in it, something like that.
Okay, what's the Black population and all the other demographics?
The Black population is probably, if I had to guess here, it's probably about 3% of the population.
Wow.
Regionally, yeah. In the county, the Black population is about 7%. That includes one of the bigger cities, Morristown. But the Latino population has increased significantly over the past, 25 years. To almost 30%. And we've recently gotten a lot of people migrating in from the Pacific Islands. And so we've got a lot of Pacific Island folks that have moved into the community. Still a very small percentage, but enough that they have, they have their own church now.
So you know all the Black people there.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Like, we all know each other.
Do y'all go to the same church? Is there still some segregation? Just like, is your neighborhood the Black neighborhood where you live and that kind of thing?
There's still a few places where older Black families have held on to the land, but mostly here, just behind me, across the railroad tracks, was a historically Black community called Africatown.
Oh, really?
Sprung up just after the Civil War. There was a school, a church, an AME Zion church, and a school, and like a Odd Fellows, a chapter of the Odd Fellows and Freemasons. But now all that's gone. There's nobody else left over there. Everybody's died and moved on. And so those older families, there's very few left in this area. And so I think out migration, which you being in Detroit, all about that.
Yeah.
And people passing away, people moving away and passing away. Things change. My uncle always said, one thing you can count on is everything's going to change.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So what you said earlier is that there were plantations there.
There were, yeah. And that's something that people don't realize. And even we tell a lie that we tell ourselves here is that, like, in the mountains, there wasn't slavery, right? There wasn't very much slavery because of the topography, right? They say that, but there were smaller plantations. Probably at the most you're going to get, 60, 75 people enslaved working on a plantation. But there were plantation operations in particularly in the river valley here, Holston River, Nolichucky River, French Broad River Valley. So there were
growing what
numbers of enslaved.
Yeah, what were they growing?
Tobacco, corn.
Okay. But when we deduct slavery, what that is the white man says, okay, I'm gonna be a farmer and I can't do all this by myself. So, and there's this thing called this free labor. And so I'm gonna go and figure out a way to get me some of this free labor and have them do a lot of this grunt work that I can't do, don't want to do. And in the farming, that kind of sums it up for the most part.
Yeah, and oftentimes, most slaveholders in this region had, held, 3 or 4 people in bondage at a time. But we keep doing it. It's our economy's built on it. Like, where do you, that's what we're using these Central Americans for now. Free labor, paying them pennies, and
yeah.
It's interesting because the area where my grandfather sharecropped, the fields where my grandfather sharecropped over on the Nolichucky River, now Central Mexican and like Guatemalan folks are people working those same fields now.
I see.
And so they just traded us out. We weren't profitable anymore. They had to.
Right. Now you say that you said this earlier, that I think your great grandfather was a slave there. You know where he was? You know the house, the plantation he worked on? How about this?
The house is still there. Yeah.
Do the people that enslaved him, are their ancestors still, descendants still there?
They still own the house. Yeah.
So the people that enslaved your great grandfather.
Yeah, I went and knocked on the door a couple of times and talked to them. So
how did that conversation go?
It was really awkward. It wasn't awkward for me. It was awkward for them. And so
okay, let me stop you. Why wasn't it awkward for you? Why didn't you want to just punch him in the face?
I'll tell you why it wasn't awkward for me. I just wanted some photographs or any information. And so I knew that they potentially had some photographs or some information about my great grandparents that I didn't have access to and that we had lost. And so my first inclination is just to see what they had. And that's what I wanted. I wanted what they have. Information wise.
So let me ask you this then. You walk up to the house, that's them. You answered, you hit the doorbell or you knock on the door. What is the first thing you said to them?
I said, I introduced myself. My name's William Isom, and my great grandfather was enslaved here. And I was just wanting to know if you had any photographs or any information, because we have very little information. So I was just wanting to see if you guys had anything that would help our family research ourselves.
So then what happened?
And so that's what I said to them.
So then what happened?
They were like, I don't know. Oh, we'll get back to you, or holler at it. So I gave them a couple of weeks. I maybe even gave them a couple of months, and then I went back. I called them, and I went back, and so me and my father and my son went and met with them and sat down, and they actually had a memoir of one of the slaveholders associated with the family that had a narrative about my great-great-grandfather in it. And so they actually had something for me. And so I took that and said, all right, peace. And yeah, it
Well,
was
they didn't
really, it was
mind
really,
giving that to you, or you had to make a copy of it?
they had made copies of it for me. And so
Okay.
it was good that, you know, we had that conversation with my son and my father there. So 3 generations of us were there. And, you know, it was really invaluable information because it talked about what my great-great-grandfather looked like. It talked about he got whipped by the Klan after the Civil War in that community. How he built his house, who he bought the land from to build his house, his mother, where she was buried at. And so there was a lot of information in there that
Yeah.
we couldn't have known. And so
Well,
that was invaluable to me.
let me ask you this. Who wrote that?
The guy that wrote it was Reverend Pharaoh Cobb, Reverend Pharaoh Cobb was the son of the person that my great-great-grandfather was given to in a will after his original slave owner died.
What's his connection to the people who you talked to at the house?
He married into the family. So he married one of their daughters out of that house. And so he married into the Chestnut family. And as a consequence, his father married into the Chestnut family. And as a consequence, his father inherited the Chestnut slaves, some of the Chestnut slaves. And so they were given out as people were given out as wedding gifts. And so she brought my ancestors with her in the wedding.
So you got to figure out that document was written when? In the 18 what?
No, this document in particular was written in the early 1900s.
Okay. Because the guy who wrote it was an older guy and he remembered these stories. But at the same time, that's firsthand knowledge.
Yeah.
What you got there could almost be priceless.
35 years.
What you got there could almost be priceless, that original document. In terms of archives and whatnot.
It is priceless. It is priceless to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and so did they take you to the back where the slave cabin was?
No, and I'm pretty certain that the slave cabins are on the side of the house by the road. And so I see them almost every day. I drive by them and look at them. So I'm pretty certain they're right there by the road. They're still in pretty good shape. Seems like it would be nice to have them renovated, but that's a whole nother project.
They're made of brick or wood?
They're still there. Wood, yeah, they're wood, tin roof, brick, probably the size of a 2-bedroom apartment, maybe. Maybe a 1-bedroom apartment. Yeah.
Do you hear ghosts at night?
I hope not. I haven't yet. But I still always hear my ancestors talking to me. So if I'm going the wrong way, I feel that tug.
When you see those houses, you see them all the time, but are there times you see them and you stop?
Yeah, I have. I do. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stop and look around and check things out and then, keep it moving.
We're gonna get to the blacks in Appalachian, but I like this here for a minute. Was there any more contact with that family? Do you see them at the county store and all that, and y'all wave at each other and now y'all kind of buddy or something?
No, I don't think that they probably shop locally. They look like that they're moneyed. And so they probably order all their stuff off online or something, have it delivered. I don't know. I don't ever see them at the store, but they don't seem like that they're too keen on being out and about in town. They're kind of, they're bougie.
Oh,
So,
really?
but yeah, no, I don't see him. I probably will go see him at some point again when I have a reason to. Maybe if we try to renovate and preserve those slave houses, maybe that's a time I could go back and engage with them again. But I'll leave them. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing to do with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got what I needed.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe two more questions. You said he was whipped by the KKK. Did it tell you what that story was, or he was standing there and we're gonna whip somebody?
Yeah, the story was that so the community is called St. Clair, and I mean it's right down the road here. St. Clair, it said in the document, St. Clair was that Black folks weren't allowed in St. Clair after the sun went down. So it was a sundown town. And so he was in town after the sun went down, and they whipped him. And yeah, that was the end of the story as it was written.
He forgot that it was getting dark. I mean, how could you know that's the story. I mean, whatever happened, but he slipped up that day.
Well, it said that he had made a habit of being in town after dark, and so he was probably whatever. Like he was born and raised there, so he was probably, got a little too comfortable, and then they had to remind him, or they were trying to like swing their ding dongs around and impose their form of law. Who knows? But yeah, I can't imagine he slipped up on purpose, right? Like who would do that?
Now, are there any remnants of Black only, white only? Can you go into that town right now and feel comfortable? How is it today? Let me ask you.
Yeah, there's not much there. It's kind of like the community. I mean, right now it's there's a little restaurant and a gas station and a park and a church, and so there's not very much in that community anyway. And so I've never felt uncomfortable being in there. And what was interesting is when I learned from that document that it was a sundown town, it kind of took me aback, because I'm like, this is where I'm from, so I like rip and run and go wherever I want to, so it took me aback that town used to be what it was. Yeah, I don't feel, and I've never heard anybody say anything about St. Clair,
really?
either my parents or grandparents. There's places that my parents or grandparents told me growing up, like, no, we don't mess with those folks. We don't go over there. But that wasn't one of them,
Oh, really? Have you ever seen KKK yourself?
Yeah.
Were they marching, or what were they, you ain't spy on a meeting, did you?
No. They had a rally. There was a period in time there when they were having rallies in the area. And so they had a rally in Newport, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes south of me. They had a rally there, which was interesting because that town had a Black mayor at the time. They had a rally in Middlesboro, Kentucky, which is it's probably about 45 minutes north of me. And they were organizing for a while there. This was probably 2010s, 2012s in there somewhere. And so we would go and protest or like heckle them or throw stuff at them, just like give them a hard time. And but that was around, and I think around that time also in the South, like churches were being burned. It was around that time. I'm sure you remember that. There was a spate of time where churches were being burned and stuff like that. So I think that they had organized. They were organizing back then.
Have you ever seen a cross burned?
No, I've never seen a cross burn.
When you saw them that day, were you afraid and thought, man, if we upset them too much, they're gonna come after us?
No, we ain't scared of them. No, we ain't scared of them. Like they're the cowards, right? So they're easy. Uh, there's no, ain't nobody scared of them around here because we know that you catch them by themselves, they ain't so brave. And so
We're gonna one more
no,
question.
we don't.
You know who they are?
I mean, yeah, they don't wear. I mean, they go to them rallies like they don't cover their faces and stuff.
Oh, really?
You know? But yeah.
As we get up to
They're proud. They're proud of it, unless they're out by them.
As we get
Unless
up in
they're by
time,
themselves.
you talked about blacks in the Appalachian. Why were there blacks in the Appalachians other than to be enslaved? What was the connection?
Yeah. So we started doing this work because people don't, when they think about Appalachia, they think about poor white hillbillies, right? They don't think about black folks. And so, but as long as white folks have been in Appalachia, black folks have been here. So since the mid to late 1700s, like black folks have been here too. Some of them enslaved, but also some of them free. And and so black folks came as settlers, and they came with the Native Americans, and everything, the broad scope of life in this region, black folks participated in and have for forever. But then, in the 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, black folks started coming into the region for the coal mining industry. And so black folks started coming up from Alabama and Mississippi and South Carolina to work in the coal mines. And so you had a huge influx of black folks into the region. But then, as you know, being in Detroit, after World War II, the demand for coal shrank, and the first ones to lose their jobs was us. And so, people started moving on to the next industrial stage of the Industrial Revolution, started moving to Detroit's and Chicago's and Akron's and Toledo's to work in those factories. And so, so since that time, and since desegregation, we've seen like the black population of Appalachia has constricted significantly.
Now, where's a coal mine near you?
The closest coal mine is there's not many left. There is not many left. I would say probably Middlesboro, Kentucky. Outside of Middlesboro, Kentucky is probably where the closest coal mine is to me.
Have you ever been in
About
one?
40. I've never been in one, no, and I hope to never go in one. But now, nowadays they do, a lot of the coal is done through strip mining. And so they don't go underground anymore. They use machines and blow the tops of the mountains off, scrape off the coal and do it that way. And so mechanization is also one of the things that caused black coal miners to lose their jobs. You need less people to mine more coal. And so mechanization, people don't go underground as much. Some do, but most are just strip mine.
If you're in that Appalachian Mountain, how do you get black music? Is there a radio feed that you can get out of Knoxville or something to hear?
The closest black radio station we have is WJ. Oh man, I gotta sing the jingle in my head. WJBL. It's actually James Brown Radio in Knoxville. So that's the closest black-owned radio station that we have, which is about 50 miles west of here. And so, that's the black radio station for the area.
So if it's not black, what kind of music do you like?
I'm from Generation X, so I'm a hip hop head. I'm
really?
I'm a 90s hip hop baby. And so, I grew up listening to the old school, I grew up listening to Public Enemy and Run DMC and, Tribe Called Quest. So that's like what I come up listening to. Yeah.
And you got friends that are like you there? or are you such a different kind of guy?
No, everybody from my generation, I'm 45. So all the guys my age, like we still listen to like, the old school hip hop, Busta Rhymes,
Oh,
DJ
really?
Muggs.
I got you.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that
But
that
like also like that good R&B
yeah.
is always going to hit. So, you ain't going to, and then blues, them old Piedmont blues. Hey, yes, all
Is
that
there
stuff.
is there a Appalachian, you know how we think of like country music? Is there an Appalachian style music?
Bluegrass.
Oh, right.
And one of the things that people don't realize is that the banjo is an African instrument. And so the way that white folks in the mountains started playing the banjo, they learned to play the banjo from Africans. And so,
Oh,
yeah, so the
really?
banjo is yeah. So even the roots of the whitest music you could think of, bluegrass, is founded on Africa.
Oh man, that's do you walk around and this is a crazy question. As a Black person, do you wear like a Afro print t-shirts, any of that kind of thing, or that's just not, because it ain't but a few of y'all doing it. You know what I'm asking you?
Yeah. I mean, we do like everybody else. We have, if it's something going down, everybody's got their Black Lives Matter t-shirts, or I
Oh,
got my Marcus
really?
Garvey shirt. It depends on the season, like what you dressing for. You got to
Yeah,
dress for the occasion.
yeah.
And yeah, we do we ain't trying to hide. We ain't hiding from them.
Is there a gathering that the Black people come to every year? A big, dance, picnic, or something that everybody shows up for?
Yeah. There's several. The one in this area is called the 8th of August.
Oh,
And
yes.
the 8th of August every year, because that's our emancipation celebration. And so
Right.
the 8th of August, people still get together and kick it, block parties, hip hop shows, cookouts, barbecues, things for the kids,
I got you.
beauty pageants, all the things. So the 8th of August is like the thing. But then, like people still have like their church homecomings and stuff like that, you may not go to that church, but you'll sure go eat,
Yes, I got you. Is there a question that I have not asked you, something in particular? You've written a book or writing a book, you're doing some research. How do people find out about you?
I've we wrote a small book about the history of the 8th of August.
Okay.
People can find most of everything that we do on blackinappalachia.org is the website, www.blackinappalachia.org. And I mean, we've been doing this, we're coming up on 10 years of doing this work, just trying to make the Black history available from this region so that people can research their own stuff. So we do research from as early as we can till generally about desegregation. And then we don't really go do any research past desegregation. But churches, schools, we produce short documentaries, and everything that we produce and the research that we do is freely available online at blackinappalachia.org. We also have a podcast. That's available on all platforms. It's not me. There's some beautiful, smart Black women that do the podcast, Dr. Nkechi Alameen and Angela Dennis. And the podcast, you can find it also on the website.
Okay. And in that, again, what you do is you talk about what happened with Black folks in the Appalachian region, the history.
Mm-hmm.
You name names, you tell this church, that church, whatever. I love it. There's a lady I interviewed who has opened up a museum, Southwest Kentucky Museum.
That's my pupils.
Okay. Yeah, she's on the channel. I cannot think of her name
good.
offhand, but she's on the channel.
She's good, folks.
And again, what's the website so people can come and celebrate and donate money or whatever?
blackinAppalachia.org.
Okay.
And we're also on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
The young people got us on TikTok, but I don't know
Yeah, I
anything about no
don't do
TikTok.
too much of that either. I tried, but that wasn't it. Well, hey, my brother, I thank you so much for coming on the channel. Everybody, this is what I do. I'm telling you, I find these cool dudes. He and down there, and he the man in that region. He walking around. He ain't scared. He wearing his stuff. He telling them this is who I am, and I ain't going nowhere. So y'all got to come correct with me and treat me fairly. I thank you so very much for being on the channel. Everybody hit that subscribe button. If you don't do nothing else, but hit the like button for sure, because I know he told you some things that you didn't know. And it's amazing to hear he met the people, them enslavers. He knocked on the door and said, hey, here I am. I got to ask you a couple questions. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up, you get notified. Tell somebody about strong inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't do that. That's not fair. And to you, my brother, I say this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing. I really like that you stayed, man. And you holding it down there. You keeping that history alive. You keeping them people in check, I'm sure. I like that, brother. I'm coming to meet you one day. I like to come down and see that. As I told you earlier, I'm having these festivals in different places. That could be a spot. It really could. I'm gonna see what's happening. We're gonna stay in touch. Everybody watch my movie, read my book. And with that, I'll say, bye-bye, we out. Thank you.